Good morning, and welcome to Practical Christian Lessons. I am Joshua Pearsall, and we are going to be reading Wisdom of Sirach, chapter 21 today. Real fast, if you haven't watched Wisdom of Sirach 18 and 19, I highly recommend it, especially out of this week. Of course, I recommend all my readings. I'm selfish, and want you to go watch all my videos. But I also want you guys to watch them because, I'm putting out this content for a reason. It's for viewers, for education, for spiritual growth, for spiritual health, for learning how to use what I'm reading here, the Apocrypha, as a devotional tool, not just as literature from the ancient past. So it's worth reading. And I think it's worth reading for the same reason that churches historically always thought it was worth reading. Even the many, many, many who didn't think it was canon still thought it was worth reading. And I take that same stance. So, Wisdom of Sirach 21. My son, have you sinned? No longer add to them, but pray about your former sins. Flee from sin as you would from the presence of a snake, for if you approach it, it will bite you. Bite you. Its teeth are like lion's teeth, destroying the souls of men. All lawlessness is like a two-edged sword, for there is no healing from its wound. Panic and violence will lay waste to wealth. Likewise, the house of an arrogant man will be laid waste. The prayer of a poor man goes from his mouth to God's ears, and his judgments come speedily. Whoever hates rebuke walks in the steps of a sinner, but he who fears the Lord will return to him with his heart. A man powerful in his speech is known from afar, but an intelligent man knows when he slips. He who builds his house with other people's money is like a man who gathers his stones in a storm. The assembly of the lawless is like a bundle of kindling, whose end is a flame of fire. The way of sinners is paved with stones, but at its end is the pit of Hades. He who keeps the law controls his thoughts. The end result of the fear of the Lord is wisdom. He who is not astute cannot be taught, but there is an astuteness that increases bitterness. The knowledge of a wise man is like a flood, and his counsel will flow abundantly, as a fountain of life. The inner workings of a fool are like a broken vessel, for he will not hold on to any knowledge. If a man of understanding hears a wise word, he will praise it and add to it. But if a self-indulgent man hears it, it displeases him, and he turns his back on it. The explanation of a fool is like a burden on a journey, but grace will be on the lips of an intelligent man. The utterance of a sensible person will be sought in the assembly, and they will ponder his words in their heart. Like a house that has disappeared, so is wisdom to a fool, and the knowledge of a foolish man is words. That will not stand up to examination. To a foolish man, instruction is like chains on the feet, and like handcuffs on the right hand. A fool raises his voice when he laughs, but an astute man will smile quietly with some hesitation. To a wise man, instruction is like a golden ornament, and like a bracelet on the right arm. The foot of a fool quickly enters a house, but a man with much experience will stand respectfully outside. A man without discernment peers into a house from the door, but a well-educated man will stand outside. A man shows his lack of education when he listens at the door, but a prudent man will be grieved by this disgrace. The lips of the unwise will describe things in detail, but the words of the prudent will balance the scale. The heart of fools is in their mouth, but the mouth of the wise is in their heart. When an ungodly man curses Satan, he curses his own soul. The whisperer defiles his own soul, and will be hated in his own neighborhood. That's Wisdom of Sirach, chapter 21. Since I haven't said it this week yet, I'm reminded of the Proverbs. Anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, I say that a lot in this series because Jesus ben Sirach, the author of this, or he wrote it and then his son copied it down. This is not Jesus of Nazareth. This is a much older Jesus. Go watch our first video on the Wisdom of Sirach series to learn a little bit about that. It wrote this after years of being a faithful Jew in the Second Temple, or in the intertestamental period, having a lifetime of reflecting on the Proverbs, of reflecting on God, and he's like, well, I have this wisdom, and if the introduction is correct, which I have no reason to doubt it, is that it was actually, or I think maybe it was a theory. I can't remember. It's been a bit since I looked at that. It was either a theory or in the introduction somewhere, it talks about this being a lecture series. I think it's one of the theories, actually, if I'm remembering right. I doubt myself now, but that it was a series of lessons he'd written, and the son penned down later. And I actually want to talk about the beginning where it talks about flee from sin as you would from the presence of a snake, for if you approach it will bite you. Its teeth are like the lion's teeth, destroying the souls of men. Often in actual scripture proper, we see the image of a lion and snake used a lot, but we also see it used for both God and for Satan. I mean, of course, in the context, it's clear which one's talking about which, and they're used in different ways, right? When Satan's talked about being a snake, it's not in a good way. And then at other times, right, it's like be wise as a serpent. They're the negative traits associated with the evil, the good traits associated with the God of good, of course, rather than the rebellious, prideful angel. So, there you go. And then a lion in the same way. I'm reminded of a writing from Hilary of Poitiers. I want to say it's called A Treatise on the Antichrist, I think is the name of it. And he talks about how Satan disguises himself. And we see that in Scripture as well. Agents of good, or agents of evil, through deception and trickery, try to disguise themselves as agents of good. Of course, the father of lies does the exact same thing. And he uses the exact language of disguising himself as a lion, right? We have the Lion of Judah, so the Satan tries to disguise himself as this Lion of Judah, but there are clearly things that make him stick out, that he's not the Lion of Judah. Something is wrong with this lion. And that this is a great tool of the enemy. And that is something I kind of keep in the back of my head a lot. I don't really have a reason why, it just does. But Hilary of Poitiers is definitely an interesting figure to read into. I highly recommend really reading any church fathers. But Hilary of Poitiers is certainly an interesting one. I need to do more reading on myself. But that is one of his treatises I've gone through. And you can find it for free online. I can't remember if I found it on Spotify or if I found it on YouTube, but there's tons of free audiobooks from early fathers and stuff that you can find online. People have just put out for free. CCEL and LibriVox put out a lot of great free stuff, free content from ancient figures to some modern figures. So worth checking those two things out. CCL is Christian Classic Ethereal Library. But that is our reading for today. And that is the end for this week, as our last reading for the Wisdom of Sirach this week. Unless I do one tomorrow. There we go. It's focused now. Which we'll find out. If you're wondering why there might not be certainty, go watch Wisdom of Sirach 19. There is quite a few announcements in that video, including all the things that are impacting my schedule right now. So sometimes things are a bit up in the air. We've all got those seasons of life. And I am in that season of life right now, no doubt. So with that, you guys enjoy your weekend. Hopefully we'll see you in tomorrow's video. If not, that's okay. God bless and have a wonderful day.